Okay, it is 7 o'clock, and I will call our November council meeting to order and welcome those that are here in the chamber with us tonight. We're glad to have you, and welcome those that are watching online. We're glad that you have joined us as well. We're almost to the holiday season, and time to celebrate soon. We're privileged to have Father Tochi from the St. Teresa's Catholic Church to join us tonight for the invocation. So Father, if you would come forward to the microphone there and deliver the invocation, after which Vice Mayor Reed will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Lord God, we gather in your name as we commend our town into your hands. Our good gifts come from you. You are always close to us, and you invite us to seek you in humility and make our lives conformable to you. We thank you for the blessings of our town. We thank you for the families that make up our town. We thank you for the human and natural resources you have blessed this town with. May we honor you through our lives and what you have blessed us with. You know us better than we do know ourselves, therefore we submit to you and ask you to reward our faith in you with your love and your presence. We pray that you bless the efforts of the town council. May they trust in your power to save and bless. Bless them with your wisdom and perseverance. As they do their best to lead our town, may they never be discouraged by any difficulty. Keep their families safe and in peace. But above all, may we all know you through God, Jesus Christ, whom you sent through the power of the Holy Spirit. For we make these prayers through Christ our Lord. Amen.
Thank you both. Madam Clerk, welcome. We're glad to have you with us tonight, and would you please call the roll?
Mr. Vincent.
Here.
Mr. Reed.
Here.
Mr. Dwyer.
Here.
Mr. Hunter.
Here.
Mr. Cole.
Here.
Mrs. Amos.
Here.
Mr. Parrott.
Here.
Thank you, ma'am. Our first order of business is a public hearing for resolution number 2021-11-01. Mr. Davis?
Mayor, this is resolution 2021-1101. It amends the town budget for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2021 and ending June 30, 2022 in a total amount of $22,312,196.35 to transfer surplus funds from fiscal year 2020-2021 budget to the fiscal year 21-22 budget in the aggregate amount of $1,209,294.37.
Anyone here that wishes to speak? If not, I'll bring the public hearing to a close. And we'll move to the next item, which is the reaccreditation presentation of the Farmville Police Department. Chief Ellington? And if you would kindly introduce your guest.
Mayor, Town Council, it's my pleasure tonight and an honor to introduce to you Mr. Eric Smith. He's with the Department of Criminal Justice Services, and he's a manager for law enforcement standards and policies. I am equally excited that he is here tonight to present the Farmville Police Department with our third certificate of accreditation. Eric?
Thank you. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks. As the chief noted, I'm here to present the department with their award for reaccreditation as a Virginia Law Enforcement Professional Standards Commission accredited agency. For those of you that weren't here for any of their prior awards or are unfamiliar with the program, the accreditation program involves, the commission is made up of 6 chiefs and 6 sheriffs who administer the standards by which Virginia law enforcement agencies are judged. There are over 150 standards which each agency must meet, have policies in place, and proof that they are actually following those policies in order to achieve that accredited status. Back in June of this year, 3 assessors came in. Each assessor is an experienced either accreditation manager or law enforcement officer who's been working with the program for quite some time and is very familiar with all of the requirements for accreditation. Those 3 assessors spent several days going through the agency's policies, reviewing the evidence in the evidence room, pulling random pieces of evidence to make sure that they matched up with what the books said would be there, inspecting their vehicles, speaking with the actual officers, and just ensuring that all of the VLEPC standards have been met. After the assessors came through and did their assessment, they wrote up a very lengthy report, approximately 20-page long report, which was then presented to the commission, who reviewed the report, reviewed all of the glowing items that they found, including there were a couple items that needed to be fixed on scene, which were fixed and got the agency to where it needed to be. And the commission then reviewed the report in whole, discussed the report, and elected to vote to reaccredit the Town of Farmville Police Department. So it is my pleasure this evening to present to the chief the award, the certificate of accreditation, showing that the Town of Farmville Police Department has been reaccredited for another period of 4 years. And we hope that in 4 years you'll be back again doing the same thing. Congratulations, Chief.
Thank you. Mayor, Council, I just want to take the opportunity to recognize some people that made this all possible. Number one being Dale Dowdy. Dale, if you come forward. Dale took over this process some time ago and got us through our second award. I believe it was in 2017 when you took over. Got us through that period and started all over again 4 years ago and got us again to where we are today. And this is a very thankless job. It's a job that requires dedication and a lot of organization and a lot of reading. And Dale carries all of that. So again, I just want to recognize her. I still want to recognize my department, my command staff. They're the ones that keep us glued together. They keep the wheels greased and the troops rolling. And the troops do the reports, which is a huge requirement to make sure that we have certain things in each of our reports that we do. So, you know, kudos to the Farmville Police Department. I'm so proud to be the leader of them, and to get this third award means more than you know. And last but not least, you, the council that work with us, you give us the tools that we need, that we ask for, and that is required for us to be one of the most elite departments in this state. And I want to thank you for your support as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief, and congratulations to the department on the reaccreditation. I know it's a tough process. You've got a great department, and you've done well with it, and Council's very proud of the department in Farmville and where we are. Do you have some people you're going to introduce tonight?
Me?
Uh-huh. No? Okay. I saw some officers come in. I didn't know if you were introducing.
I can protect.
You're good. Okay. Thank you.
Could we get a picture real quick?
Sure.
Come on. Come up. Bill, come up.
here.
Thank you again and congratulations. Madam Clerk, do we have anybody that has signed up to speak?
Mayor, no one has signed up to speak, and we have no call-ins.
No. Anyone who's here who did not sign up who wishes to speak? Okay. Request approval for the consent agenda. Does anybody wish to pull anything out of the consent agenda? And if not, do I hear a motion that we approve the consent agenda?
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Motion and second. Any additional discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. 9, Madam Treasurer, Treasurer's Report.
Good evening. You have October's Treasurer's Report before you. Under the restricted fund, the medical compensation, we had 2 employees to leave employment in October and were eligible for compensation in the amount of $37,600. Do you have any questions?
Any questions? If not, do I hear a motion?
I move that we approve the town treasurer's report as presented.
Motion and second. Any other discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. And Madam Treasurer, while we're here and talking about this, I had inquired of Mr. Davis earlier in the week or even late last week about the interest rate and the interest we were getting on the money. Help me with the acronym.
It's on our main account.
On the main account, but the money from ARPA is in there. Thank you. Yeah, the main account has that $4 million plus, and we were getting very little interest. But after doing some research, thanks, that 0.15% appears to be very good. It's kind of sad to have that much money and only getting 0.15%. But
It is, and also remember, with benchmark, there's no fees whatsoever
Right.
for anything, and that's
Right.
huge.
yeah, and there's nothing out there any better. So it's kind of sad. But anyway,
It is
great
very sad.
job, and hopefully we'll earn a few $1,000s along the way. Okay, next item, request adoption of Resolution 2021-11-01, the budget amendment for which we just had a public hearing. Are there any additional questions? If not, do I hear a motion to approve the amendment?
I move that we adopt the resolution number 2021-11-01, amending the 21-22 budget.
Second.
Motion and second. Is there any additional discussion? If not, Madam Clerk, would you call the roll?
Mr. Reed,
Yes.
Mr. Vincent,
Yes.
Mrs. Amos,
Yes.
Mr. Cole,
Yes.
Mr. Dwyer,
Yes.
Mr. Hunter,
Yes.
Mr. Parrott.
Yes.
On a unanimous vote, the measure has passed.
Thank you, ma'am. Item number 11, request adoption of the Town of Farmville's Emergency Operation Plan. Mr. Davis, are you speaking to that?
Yes, sir. Every 4 years, we have to look at that. We should be looking at it along the way. And so there's only been some minor changes, obviously, changing contact information and those types of things, but nothing extraordinary has been changed in it. And we need to have that adopted in a resolution to say that it's been updated and for the next period of time. I would like to say, Mayor, that I've brought this up before and I'll talk about it a little bit further in the next several months, maybe at work sessions, to look at potentially a joint emergency operations plan with Prince Edward County that we can do jointly together. Since most likely, if something were to happen, we would be working jointly and have a plan that would mirror that.
I think that's a great idea. I assume you and the county administrator have had or will have discussions.
Yes, actually, Doug, myself, and the Assistant County Administrator have had those preliminary discussions.
I think it's a great idea. Do I hear a motion to approve the resolution?
I make a motion that we approve the resolution.
Second.
Motion and second. Any additional discussion? If not, I'll ask the clerk to call the roll.
Mr. Parrott,
Yes.
Mr. Reed,
Yes.
Mr. Vincent,
Yes.
Mrs. Amos,
Yes.
Mr. Cole,
Yes.
Mr. Dwyer,
Yes.
Mr. Hunter.
Yes.
On a unanimous vote, the measure has passed.
Thank you, ma'am. Next item, number 12, request authorization for the town manager to sign a letter of intent with AC Power, Inc. Mr. Davis?
Mayor, members of council, I spoke about this at last week's work session and at the Finance Committee meeting. This is just allowing us to work with this company while they do their due diligence, and then they will come back after they've done their due diligence phase with a potential contract to have solar on our landfill site.
Any questions? Not, do I hear a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to authorize town manager to sign the letter of intent with AC Power LLC.
Second.
Motion and second. Any additional discussion? If not, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it. Item 13, request authorization for the town manager to sign contract with Stratified, Inc., and this involves the statue. I've had several questions, Mr. Davis. Would you walk through, again, exactly what will be moved? There's some questions about the concrete base that it's sitting on.
The circular concrete will not move.
Yeah, that was the question.
Everything above that will be moved to a new foundation at the Confederate Cemetery.
Do we know what might happen? Someone asked me if that was not moved, what happens with the concrete circular base?
We can probably take it up ourselves, but I don't see where it would be an issue if it's left as it is.
And the other issue, and this is a council issue, someone asked, what's the town proposed to do with that piece of property? And I think that's something that's for a later discussion, and we figure out what we do with that piece of property. As we move forward, what we do with it. So, but anyway, do I hear a motion to sign the contract to move this process forward?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second. Any additional discussion? If not, I'll ask the clerk to call the roll.
Mr. Dwyer,
Yes.
Mr. Hunter,
Yes.
Mr. Parrott,
Yes.
Mr. Reed,
Yes.
Mr. Vincent,
Yes.
Mrs. Amos,
Yes.
Mr. Cole.
Yes.
On a unanimous vote, the measure has passed.
Okay, item 14, request authorization for the town manager to sign a lease with Habitat. Mr. Davis, you're going to be busy signing, it seems.
Mayor, we had Habitat for Humanity, which is a local nonprofit organization in town that helps those needing housing. They build houses, and then the person actually purchases those homes from them, through them. And so they have some material that they need to store. They've actually been using a storage facility, which is costing them money. And we have that cinder block building that sits in front of the larger one at Wilkes Lake area that used to be an old accounting office that is of really no use for the town at this point. And so we were approached about allowing them to use that for storage. The lease, as you see it, the only thing that we're looking for from a monetary standpoint is that if they use any of the utilities, then they would pay us to pay those bills, but no other lease payment would be required other than to cover the utilities. I would just say I should have drawn this up on two different occasions we have tonight, but I would just say that for Conflict of Interest Act purposes, Mr. Dwyer would just have to state that he's a member of an organization and would have to abstain from this vote. And the same for Mr. Vincent when we get to Appomattox River Company. As long as we make a statement, we'll be in compliance.
Okay, what's the pleasure of council?
I make a motion to authorize the town manager to sign the lease with Habitat for Humanity.
Second.
Motion and second. Any additional discussion? If not, I'll ask the clerk to call the roll.
How long of a lease?
How long of a lease? Any other questions? If not, I'll ask the clerk to call the roll.
Mr. Cole,
Yes.
Mr. Hunter,
Yes.
Mr. Parrott,
Yes.
Mr. Reed,
Yes.
Mr. Vincent,
Yes.
Mrs. Amos.
Yes.
On a unanimous vote, the measure has passed.
I better make my comment. As an employee of Piedmont Habitat, I'm going to abstain from voting.
Thank you, sir. Item 15, Appomattox River Water Sewer Adjustment Request. Mr. Davis.
We periodically have these, and this goes back to where we only have the authority from an administrative standpoint to adjust 1 month. There was a water leak issue which involved the toilet, means we have to adjust the sewer, but this went over more than 1 month, and so we as staff cannot do that, and so it's being brought to you to adjust that additional month.
I make a motion we adjust the water sewer bill for the Appomattox River Company.
Second.
Motion and second. Is there any additional discussion? If not, I'll ask the clerk to call the roll.
Mrs. Amos,
Yes.
Mr. Cole,
Yes.
Mr. Dwyer,
Yes.
Mr. Hunter,
Yes.
Mr. Parrott,
Yes.
Mr. Reed,
Yes.
Mr. Vincent.
As an employee of Appomattox River Company, I will abstain.
On a unanimous vote, the measure has passed.
Thank you, ma'am. Item 17, standing committee reports. Item 16, staff reports. Mr. Davis.
I just have a few announcements. Christmas tree lighting is next Friday, November the 19th. We will also, in collaboration with that, as we do every holiday season, we'll be bagging the parking meters on Main Street in those areas for the holiday, as we usually do. Our employee Christmas luncheon is going to be December the 15th at the Sports Arena between 11:30 and 2. And the Christmas parade is going to be taking place again this year. So it is the first Sunday in December, which is December the 5th. That's all I have. Oh, yes, a reminder, the Veterans Day program at Crouch Stage is at 11 o'clock tomorrow.
Okay. Staff, anything else? Mr. Atkins?
Fall cleanup went really well. We had 32, almost 33 tons. Another big day. Lease season's going well. They hadn't fallen yet, but I always get the corporation there when they all fall at one time. But we know they will, so we'll get them as they fall. Water and sewer, everything's fine on our end. Things look better too. That's all that.
Chief?
Mayor, I'd just like to give a brief update on something we've been working on. I know I've talked to several of you that you've been getting calls from your constituents concerning loud noise in town, especially these loud mufflers that you can hear for blocks and blocks away. I know I reported you a while back. We kind of got our hands tied back in July when new laws went into effect concerning primary offenses and being able to stop people for these violations. Well, we started doing some research, and I was working with Mr. Elder and studying our current loud noise ordinance policy that we redid last year. And we feel that we have the ability and are legal in stopping these vehicles for the excessive noise, not the equipment violation. So, long story short, we've written a summons for this. I have asked the officers to make this a part of their patrol strategies each shift and to write these violations. Mr. Elder is going to accompany us to court and prosecute these because we're writing it under the town code, and hopefully we can make a difference and bring this peaceful town back to the quiet, peaceful Farmville that we know and all so love.
That would be wonderful. Hope you're successful, Mr. Elder, in prosecuting those. I've gotten a number of complaints, Chief, as you know.
Yes, sir.
Well, I hope the General Assembly changes their mind this coming year and realizes that it was a mistake in doing some of that.
Staff, anybody I missed? If not, committee reports, rather than just going around the table, does anybody on this side from their committee have anything to report? No.
We had a Recreation Committee meeting at the end of October. The main thing we discussed was Haynes Street Park and some possible improvements there down the line. One of the cool things, Mr. Rob Johnson attended the meeting and brought up some real significant historical context to the Haynes Street Park itself, that it used to serve as primarily a park for African-American events. And so being able to incorporate that historical context into what we do with that park moving forward, I think is going to be a cool project. And so looking forward to continuing to work on that. But that's all I have.
Thank you, sir. Anybody on this side have anything from their committee reports? Okay, if not, we'll just quickly kind of go around the table. Does anybody on this end have anything?
I have one thing. Received a couple of phone calls today in reference to our youth league football. And they were stripped their ability to go for the championship game or another level of the championship game. But I'll let Mr. Davis speak upon it because he has more knowledge of it than I do.
It was, we have, I think it's 3 teams. The JV team, according to Mr. Whitson, our director, we had a player register back in July who actually at the time had an address in Keysville, but they were moving to Farmville. They were in the process of that. We did not have a director at the time, so the coach was handling those applications. And because in the bylaws of the league program, it states that you have to have an address in where the league that you're playing in, the locality you're playing in, or have a waiver from the other locality, which would be Charlotte County. And it was not it came up at later in the season. They had played almost the whole season. It came up from another team. And so what that did is disqualified them from being in the playoffs, which is happening this coming weekend.
Were they undefeated?
I don't know.
Were you shaking your head, Ms. Vaughn? They were undefeated? They were
Thank
undefeated. Sad, but I understand it was actually appealed.
It was taken to the appeal board and they still denied.
I did leave that part out. We did appeal it, and the appeal was denied but they are going to look at the bylaws.
So we took it as far as we could take it.
Correct.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Hunter. Anything else?
No,
Actually, the recreation director and the coach also had a meeting with all the parents to try to explain what had happened as well.
Yes, Mayor, I'd just like to congratulate Chief and Ms. Dowdy on the reaccreditation. I know firsthand the agency at DWR just sought accreditation for the law enforcement division there, and so I kind of got into the weeds a little bit on how much of a process that is, and so kudos to y'all for continuing to take care of that business and get it done. Well done.
Thank you. Anybody else on this side have anything? A couple of things I want before we go into closed session. There are some spoof emails going around. I know several of you got emails from me that are not from me, and if you look at the email address, and then I've gotten some emails from some council folks. So somebody's having fun spoofing our email addresses, so just be aware of that. And I see Jen Cox from Longwood. Jen, I might need you to help me with this for just a minute. As you all know, last Thursday and Friday, the governor's Rural Economic Summit was in town, and Jen led a tour. I'm gonna put you on the spot. You want to talk for just a minute? Because I will say to council members, I was absolutely thrilled with the comments that I heard from people from other localities. We took them on a tour, a walking tour, if you will, of downtown Farmville, and they were blown away by our town. I mean, it just, sometimes we don't see things that people from the outside world see, and they were literally blown away by Farmville and what went on here. Can you give a brief synopsis of that event for me?
Sure. So last Thursday and Friday, the 2021 Governor's Summit on Rural Prosperity was held here in Farmville. It moves around every year. So there's folks from the Eastern Shore to Wise coming together to talk about rural issues. So don't worry, it came up: broadband, access to healthcare, kind of all those issues that all those rural areas are facing. Luckily, we did get a little bit of time to highlight Farmville. So we had a panel about entrepreneurial ecosystems and the work that Sherry McGuire and the team at SOVA Innovation Hub are building out with a future innovation hub that we plan to have here in town. And we followed that up with a walking tour of downtown Farmville. So we did a speed walking tour of downtown because we had to move some scheduling around about 24 hours before the event. But we had a chance to highlight partnerships with Moton Museum and the Civil Rights Walking Trail. We talked about facade design and some of the updates that have been happening in downtown. Went to the plaza and the tree was already there, so we got to talk a little about one of the mayor's favorite events. We stopped into Greenfront and gave everybody a Greenfront bag. Had the county administrator talk about their plans for the front of the courthouse lawn and helping enhance Main Street. And then our last stop was to talk about the future plans for the Innovation Hub. So our goal was just to hit some of those highlights and partnerships with Longwood, the SBDC, the Chamber, Moton, Farmville Downtown Partnership, and then all the additional partnerships that we're building in. And I think I was leading the front of the tour, so I'm happy that Scott and the mayor got to hear some good news, but everyone was really thrilled with their experience. We had folks staying at 3 different hotels because we kept selling out, which was a great problem to have. We thought we'd end up with about 100 attendees. In the end, we had 175 that had registered, plus a few more that were there. So we had a really good turnout. I think folks were really eager after the past almost 2 years to be in person and to meet. We had a lot of legislators from across the state that were able to attend as well. The governor was able to attend. The lieutenant governor-elect was able to Zoom in on Friday. So just a great opportunity to highlight some of the amazing things we have going on. And I think the mayor hit the nail on the head that I think, right, we're in it all day, so we see all the other things we want to do, right, and the 500 next steps we want to take to improve. And I think I'll let the mayor, I won't steal his thunder about the quote of it being a great town and how lucky we are.
Yeah, there were a number of people that just could not believe Farmville, and many of them had been here years ago, could not believe what they see when they come back today. And somebody said, "Oh, you have to be really proud to be the mayor of this town." And I said, "I am. We've come a long ways. We have a ways to go, but we've definitely come a long ways." But I attended, and Mr. Davis attended, and the folks, Jen and Sherry, and the folks at Longwood did a phenomenal job in coordinating and putting everything together. And it was a great event for Farmville, no question about it. Thank you, and I apologize for putting you on the spot. Anything else before we go into closed session? If not,
Mayor, I just want, the mayor of Galax was in town, and I took him out that evening, and he was still talking about the town of Farmville, how great it was. So they were really impressed.
great. Thank you, sir. Mr. Vincent, you have the...
Mr. Mayor, I move that the Farmville Town Council convene in closed meeting pursuant to the Code of Virginia in accordance with provisions of paragraph A.1 of section 2.2-3711 for the discussion of the Director of Community Development position and paragraph A.5 of section 2.2-3711 for the discussion of a prospective business or industry.
Second.
Motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. We do anticipate there may be some action when we come back out. So, Ashley, wherever you are through the camera, we need to keep the system going because we probably will have some action to take after the closed session.
Pretty good news. Never know. Most of them like to be home by 10 o'clock.
Okay, we're all back. Mr. Vincent, if you'd kindly read the motion.
Whereas the Farmville Town Council has convened a closed meeting on this date pursuant to an affirmative recorded vote and in accordance with the provisions of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act, and whereas Section 2.2-3712 of the Code of Virginia requires a certification by the Farmville Town Council that such closed meeting was conducted in conformity with Virginia law. Now therefore be it resolved that the Farmville Town Council hereby certifies that to the best of each member's knowledge, only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements by Virginia law were discussed in the closed meeting to which this certification resolution applies, and only such public business matters as were identified in the motion convening the closed meeting were heard, discussed, or considered by the Farmville Town Council.
Second.
Motion and second. Madam Clerk, if you'd call the roll.
Mr. Vincent,
Yes.
Mr. Parrott,
Yes.
Mr. Dwyer, Mr. Reed,
Yes.
Mrs. Amos,
Yes.
Mr. Cole,
Yes.
Mr. Hunter.
Yes.
On a unanimous vote, the measure has passed.
Okay, we're now back in open session. Mr. Davis?
Yes, Mayor, in reference to the closed meeting item of prospective business and industry, I need a motion from council to allow the town manager and finance director to allocate money from the capital improvement fund and the contingency fund in order to and appropriate that to the general fund in order for us to pave the town parking lot on Perry Drive and the parking lot that is adjacent to for Fish and Pig.
So moved.
That's
Second.
as an economic incentive.
Motion and second. Any other discussion? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Reed,
Yes.
Mr. Dwyer,
Yes.
Mr. Hunter,
Yes.
Mr. Cole,
Yes.
Mrs. Amos,
Yes.
Mr. Parrott,
Yes.
Mr. Vincent.
Yes.
On a unanimous vote, the measure has passed.
With that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second.
Motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it.